Caleb Williams has the second best odds to win the Heisman Trophy in Las Vegas after he put on a show against UCLA this past Saturday, accounted for around 500 yards of total offense, 3 total touchdowns. Like, he has now earned a lot of pressure, a lot of eyeballs on USC and what he's doing. So we got to ask the question, can Caleb Williams win the Heisman Trophy? Do we think today that he will win the Heisman Trophy? I'll answer that for you at the end of this video. But we got to take a look at a couple of facets of this whole Caleb Williams Heisman hunt. Let's look at what he has in front of him. All right. To put it bluntly, the stage is set. For his schedule, he just played UCLA, a ranked team, and that was like, if you're looking at a movie screen, that was like the action-packed, attention-grabbing beginning to his plot. Because USC kind of fell off a lot of people's radar early in the year with them having that loss to Utah, and they play so late at night, and a lot of the voters are going to bed by the time they're kicking off. They now have a perfect stage with that win against UCLA. They have a primetime game against Notre Dame at home. They'll have a Pac-12 title game against, you would imagine, Oregon, but at the very least, it'll be a ranked team. So, as of now, he has a gauntlet of 3 potential ranked wins with a bunch of primetime slots for voters to watch him play his kind of game. So the formula for me is just do enough against Notre Dame. Like the way that USC plays, they've never, well, I guess outside of one game, scored less than 30 points. So he's going to get his numbers. I think the jaw-dropping performance needs to be the finale in the Pac-12 title game. Because think back to last year, right? It was kind of a muddle of who's, going to win the Heisman, who's ahead, who's this, all these hot boards. When we all knew who had won the Heisman Trophy was when Bryce Young balled out against Georgia. Like, that was the moment. I think Vegas even took the odds down because the race was over at that point. The mic was dropped. It was the last time you got to see Bryce Young play ball. That was the last weekend of college football. That was it. I think he needs to have that same kind of jaw-dropping performance against, we'll just say Oregon for right now, but in that Pac-12 title game. Because it's the last thing that viewers will see, voters will see, and in addition to that, they need to win the Pac-12 title game. I think that goes without saying. 8 of the last 10 Heisman Trophy winners took home their conference championship. Translation, you got to win the big one, okay? Put up big numbers, that's great, but it only really matters if your team is as successful as the committee wants to see or the voters want to see. The committee too, because it goes to, I'll put in quotations, the best player on the best team. More on that in a second. But if USC does run the table and they do finish the year as a one-loss Pac-12 conference champion, I wholeheartedly believe they will be in the college football playoff. I'll leave it at that. Quick note. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, we would love to have you. USC got a lot of big games coming up. We're going to preview Notre Dame coming up. We're going to preview the Pac-12 title game coming up. You're going to want to make sure you're locked and loaded with us, all right? So subscribe to the On3 YouTube channel. Also, follow me on social media, at JD Piquel on Twitter and Instagram. We do a lot of interaction there that we incorporate into our content here. So we'd also love to have you along for the ride and follow me there. When I look at Caleb Williams versus his competition, which Vegas would say is C.J. Stroud, Ohio State's quarterback, and Blake Corum, Michigan's running back. When I look at his competition, I think if all things were to be equal, I see more stages for Caleb Williams. Because the unfortunate reality for both Stroud and Blake Corum is they're going to play each other, which will be huge, so one of them will probably get knocked out of the race, and then the winner of that game goes and plays an unranked team in their Big Ten title game. Like, that's great. Win your conference. I'm all for that. I think that's important. As I already mentioned a second ago, it's a key ingredient to winning the Heisman Trophy is having your team being successful, but that's the last thing I get to see from you is playing an unranked Purdue or playing an unranked Minnesota, whoever it ends up being. That doesn't necessarily have the same kind of shine for me. I would much rather watch USC play Oregon, have that be a potentially top 15 kind of matchup with USC having a playoff ticket on the line and that being a playoff game. Like, you see where I'm going with this? The stages very much so favor Caleb Williams. Now, the whole narrative about goes to the best player on the best team, I think that's true. But if we're taking an honest look at Caleb Williams and his Heisman candidacy, I think he truly would have earned that award for being the best player in college football. And a lot was made about USC and what they did in the portal and Lincoln Riley coming there. Like, that all for sure has an impact. But we got to be real. This was a 4-8 team a season ago. Right now, they got 10 wins, and they're going to play for their conference title. And they, in my opinion, like I said, have a very legitimate chance to get a college football playoff berth. And like I said, tons of talent, right? Like they got Jordan Addison in the portal. They got, some other guys on the defensive side as well. They have a really solid defensive end in Tuli Tuipulotu. That's a dog. Like they have pieces, but make no mistake, USC goes as Caleb Williams goes. Only scored less than 30 points one time this year. They're a team that lives off of the offense. Caleb Williams is the catalyst to that offense. It's not a ground and pound, turn around and hand the ball to somebody else. Like Caleb Williams is the one that makes this whole operation cook. And to have that statement game against UCLA, I think that's the best example you could have seen. Defense made a play to win the game, but if you have anybody besides number 13 behind center for you that night, I don't know that USC wins that game. It took 48 to get it done, and Caleb Williams, with his show that he put on, I think he announced his Heisman candidacy to the entire country that he should be taken seriously. And I'll finish the whole thing with this. If USC wins out, it'll be because of Caleb Williams. And if USC wins out, I believe that USC will have a college football playoff berth. I believe that Caleb Williams will win the Heisman Trophy. That's the fact of the matter. Mic drop. Caleb Williams will be your Heisman Trophy winner if USC wins out. Now, they got their work cut out for them. Notre Dame now, the Pac-12 title game. But I'm excited to watch this whole thing unfold. That's it for us here on The Hard Count. We appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Like I already mentioned, we're going to keep a very close tab on USC. Jack Terry doing the heavy lifting. This is your channel. This is your show. You drive the whole operation by subscribing. We're going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.